Bueno, estamos teniendo una charla muy interesante con el juez Sergio Moro. Él es el juez del caso Lavallato, mejor conocido en México como Odebrecht, y nos gustaría preguntarle precisamente de lo que sabemos de este caso en relación con México. Judge, what we know about the relationship between Odebrecht, this construction company, building company, and what happened in Mexico? What you can tell us, of course, you have to be very careful because some of the investigation is going on, but what you can tell us?
I cannot speak about details.
Yes.
Okay. What happened? During the investigation, it was discovered that some of these Brazilian companies, for example, Odebrecht, they have business all around the world.
Yeah.
And in some of the countries that they have business, they paid bribes for public employees.
Yes.
Like in Brazil, the same method, sometimes giving money in hands, in specie, sometimes
cash,
yes.
Yes.
Sometimes
Wow.
in cash, and sometimes paying bribes, making deposits in offshore accounts.
Okay.
That was the case, for example, of the director of Petrobras.
Yeah.
But it seems that other public employees, even in Brazil, they paid in cash. Well, we have a great part of this evidence because of a plea agreement that the company, Odebrecht, decided to make after a lot of struggle in Brazilian courts.
Yeah.
So in one moment during the investigation, they decide to recognize their wrongdoings, their crimes, and they make commitments to pay fines because of their criminal behavior and reveal all their crimes, not only in Brazil but in foreign countries.
Yeah.
So we have this evidence, and we are our policy is to share the evidence with the countries who have interest in receiving it.
Okay.
In some cases, maybe it will be necessary to establish some conditions. For example, to establish the condition that the country which received the evidence could use it against the bribe takers, but not against the executives of Odebrecht or against Odebrecht itself, because we reached this evidence, we obtained this evidence because of the plea agreement.
So, so the public can understand, if you have a plea agreement with these executives of Odebrecht, that say, we paid those bribes to the Mexicans, and the Mexican authorities can go and prosecute these guys, but not the executive of Odebrecht, because you have that plea agreement with them. Is that right? Yes,
of course, the foreign authority could develop their own case and can maybe discuss an agreement directly with Odebrecht. Some countries did that.
Okay.
So it will not depend on us.
Okay.
But if there is not an agreement with Petrobras, with the foreign authorities, probably we will establish as a general rule this condition, because we could not allow this guy to be persecuted in a foreign jurisdiction because he is cooperating with us. And this will undermine his confidence and the confidence of the others in future plea agreements.
Absolutely. Okay. Now, what I read in the Mexican press is that these two executives of Odebrecht said that they made these bribe payments to, allegedly to Emilio Lozoya, who at the time was the head of the international relations of the campaign of President Peña, and later became the CEO of Pemex. We know that the money, there was this transfer of money from Odebrecht to those accounts. Can you tell us that?
No, I cannot tell about specific details of the case. What I can confirm is that Odebrecht revealed that it paid bribes for some public employees in Mexico at very different levels.
Okay, that's the only thing that you can tell us.
Yes, because this is complicated, because I think I need to send this evidence to Mexico by the formal ways, and it depends on that condition. And of course, there's not. We need to share not only the position of the executives, but all the rest of evidence that we got. Recently, we received from Odebrecht, because of the plea agreement. They have an informal system, electronic system. Then they register every request of bribes, every payment of bribes.
It was there. There is evidence of.
Yes, sometimes they use codes.
Use
codes.
Okay. Now, that said, that then you send this information to the Attorney General here in Mexico. Is that right?
Well, to be very honest, the federal prosecutors are in charge of this part of the cooperation.
Yeah. Okay. So
I don't know the details if they already sent this.
So the federal prosecutors in Brazil sent the information to the federal prosecutors here in Mexico.
I'm not sure if they did that.
Okay.
But we are open to receive a request from Mexican authorities to obtain this evidence.
Okay. So
usually, how it works, they already know. The press know, for example, know that Odebrecht paid bribes here.
Yes.
Usually they send to Brazilian authorities a formal request of this evidence, and then we officially share this. For example, the same thing happened with us with Switzerland. Because part of the evidence of the case in Brazil we received from Switzerland, who discovered that those executives of Petrobras have offshore accounts there. Then we send a request to them, and they answer the request, sending to us the evidence.
So this is interesting, because there is this whole international dimension in these corruption scandals. What I can feel is that the world is changing, and now there is more cooperation between nations, between countries, in trying to prosecute those kinds of big operations.
I think you're totally right. We have the globalization.
Yes.
And of course, it brings some advantages, especially in economic trade. It has bad collateral effects. And for example, if it makes the life easier for trade, it also makes it easier for criminals. So it's very common that a criminal in Brazil, in big cases, send the money abroad, or we have this case of international corruption, a company in Brazil paying bribes for foreign authorities. But let's not vilify Brazilian companies. Other companies of other countries sometimes did the same. And I think what would be important, if the Mexican authorities develop this case against these individuals, receiving or not this evidence, it would be worth it to look larger to see if these individuals, if they did not receive bribes from another companies of another countries, and even from Mexican companies. Because what we saw in Brazil, for example, in the behavior of the executives of Petrobras, is that they receive bribes from a lot of companies, not only Brazilian companies. And it's an opportunity to enlarge the investigation.
It was a system. Now, what else can you tell us about the Mexican case of in regards with Odebrecht? Can you share another information? Oh, that's it. I mean,
I'm sorry for that, but it's involving international cooperation. I don't know exactly the details. and I think it would be wise to stop here. But as I said, Brazil has its policy, are ready to share the evidence.
Okay.
I think the two countries, all countries, gain when they cooperate. When they don't cooperate, who wins is the criminal, and nobody wants that.
Yes.
So we are ready to share.
Well, let me tell you, and I was telling you during the commercial break that I really envy the Brazilians, because my feeling is that Brazil is doing something about corruption, and that's a big difference. You know, when I go and talk with international investors, they tell me, you know, in Brazil, corruption, something is happening in regards about fighting corruption, and it's not the case in Mexico. So I would like really to understand why.
I cannot. I don't know. I don't have an exact answer for that, because that's an answer. That's a question that I make to myself.
Yes.
What make the difference? And I think it was a lot of factors. Some insatisfaction with the economy, some insatisfaction with the former government, and even with the actual government, and the independence of the judiciary, the independence of the federal prosecutors, the growing tradition of autonomy of the federal police, and all that things suddenly generate this investigation. And of course there is parts of it is because of lucky. You have to,
luck is also.
See, criminal investigation is very hard. It's difficult sometimes to get evidence of this kind of crimes, and sometimes you have lucky, sometimes you don't have. But it's the same question that you could make, for example, in other scenarios. We have this major case in Italy, the clean hands operation, Manipuliti, and there they made the same question: why suddenly Italy, a country that does not have until then a strong tradition in the enforcement of law, why things change? But our open question is about what will happen in the future.
That's the question. Let me make a commercial break, and we can come back to exactly with that, because the Lava Jato case and the Mensalão case also were an earthquake in Brazil. So what's going to happen after that earthquake? No, what's your take on what's going to happen with Brazil after these very important cases? Okay. Let me go to a commercial break. Regresamos en un momento más con el juez Sergio Moro.